Hi, welcome to Vegetables, day 53. Got my new iPod tripod today, and I feel like a professional. I have a professional camera, sort of. It's an older one, but it is a Canon. And then I have a Kingjoy tripod. And it's really neat. The part that the camera sits on, you can unscrew it. It comes out from the middle and it makes a selfie stick, but then the selfie stick extends into a monopod. So it's like a 3-in-1 tripod, and it's really neat. And then it also comes with not only the mount for the camera, but it also has a, well, here, I'll show you. And this is, if I want to use my phone, it has a remote that hooks up through Bluetooth, and then it has the mount for the phone. And this is this came with the camera, this mount. So I'm just going to keep this mount on that, and the tripod came with the mount that's on the camera. So I can put the phone this way, or I can put the phone this way. So really neat. I'm really glad I got it. I didn't think I was going to need the phone mount, but it's much different than the one I do have. The one I do have, you have to like screw. Well, it's this one. This one, and it works okay. It's just that, to fit the phone in, you have to move it, like you have to unscrew it this way to get it to go wider, and then you have to screw it this way to get it to go the other direction. So that was much easier to work with. So I'm excited about that. Also excited that I weighed myself twice today. This morning I was 238. Yay. I think it was 238.2 or something like that. Then I weighed myself this evening. It was 239.7. Yes. Under that 240 mark. Yes. Eating at home makes such a huge difference. Such a huge difference. And I know it's because I'm incorporating more vegetables into my food. Into my meals, fruits and vegetables. So with that, today for breakfast, I had oatmeal again. It was peanut butter and banana with the almond milk and honey, the almond / coconut milk with honey, and then a couple cups of coffee. I did have 2 cups of coffee today though, but nothing else with it. So I saved calories there. And then for lunch, I had a big old salad that I bought at Kroger yesterday, 2 days ago. And it had a bunch of spring greens. So like it had spinach, arugula, red leaf lettuce, a whole bunch of different kinds of lettuce. And then to go on top of it, and carrots. And then to go on top of it, it had a tray with blue cheese, candied walnuts, and grapes. And then it was supposed to have a Italian citrus dressing, but I was a little skeptical about the citrus part of it because it had a bunch of different citrus juices in it. So I was a little skeptical about that because of my interstitial cystitis. So instead I had bought some raspberry vinaigrette at Kroger, and then I used some of that and a tiny bit of ranch. And then for dinner, we had another every plate. We had this one. The only difference is that because we found out that we really don't like the zucchini, we had broccoli and cheese again, which was a good thing. because the couscous, this was cream of Dijon chicken with zucchini and zucchini, so we had it with broccoli and couscous. But we'd never had couscous before, and it's just like little balls of pasta. And they were kind of weird, kind of tasteless, because they just had you cook them in the pan, and so it was kind of like having just buttered pasta. Looking here. Yeah. Because you melt a teaspoon of butter and then add the couscous and garlic and cook till roasted and fragrant. Then stir in water and a big pinch of salt. Bring to boil, cover, reduce heat, and cook until tender. And it was kind of just bland. But when you mixed it with the broccoli and cheese, oh, it was fabulous. It, just made the broccoli and cheese just a little bit different than plain broccoli and cheese. So, really good. And then the chicken, I was surprised it was really good. I had 4 pieces of chicken. I made 4 instead of 2 because I wanted, I was afraid that if I only cooked 2, we'd run into the same problem that we ran into the other night with the meatballs. There was supposed to be mini meatloaves, and they were just giant meatballs. Yeah. And I was afraid I was going to run into that. So I cooked 4 pieces of chicken, and now we both ate 2 pieces of chicken. But we're full. So, but because of that, I had only ordered 1 of these. I only had 1 of the little packages of Dijon mustard for the sauce that went on top. So you basically, season the chicken with Italian seasoning, salt and pepper. Let that sit for a few minutes while you prepare the zucchini and get the couscous going, which, like I said, I didn't do the zucchini, but I did get the broccoli in the microwave, and so then after that sit for a little while, you just fry it. Put a little bit of oil in the pan and you just fry it in the pan. And then you take the pan out, you wash the pan, so you only have 1 pan. And then you prepare the sauce, and you do add a little bit more oil, and then you add scallions and garlic. I cook those until they're fragrant. And then you stir in the chicken stock concentrate, 2 tablespoons of water, and then you remove it from heat to cool slightly. Then you stir in sour cream, mustard, and butter. And then once the butter is melted, you season with pepper. Well, 2 things. One is, I don't think you need the oil and the butter. I think you could just get away with just the butter. Second thing is that because I had made 4 pieces of chicken instead of 2, I did double the sauce, and I did not have more than 1 package, and it's only like 3 ounces of Dijon mustard. And I didn't have any more Dijon and mustard in my refrigerator because it had gone bad, and I just didn't buy any. So I used yellow mustard, and then I added just a touch of honey, and it was delicious. I probably like it better with the mixture rather than just the plain Dijon mustard. But, I mean, again, it's another great dinner. We'll take one quick look at it. And what is funny, and I don't know why I didn't do it, but on the back it says, "Did you substitute broccoli florets for couscous?" Yeah, so I just thought it was kind of funny when I was looking at the card. Yeah, I did, but I didn't make the broccoli the way they said. I made it with broccoli and cheese because that's our favorite way of making it. Okay, so that's it as far as what I ate today and what I weighed. So 2 really good days. Over the moon about the weight. But then, yesterday was the last day of the the real truth of weight loss. Excuse me. So Chef AJ. This is Chef AJ. This is her book, The Secrets to Ultimate Weight Loss. But then her summit is called The Real Truth About Weight Loss, and I kind of get them mixed up. But the reason that I wanted to show you the book is throughout the summit, she kept mentioning, and the experts kept mentioning, her calorie density chart, which gives you the average calories per pound of different foods. And the foods in green are whole foods found in nature and contain vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, phytochemicals, and micronutrients. They also contain fiber and water, which create bulk and increased satiety. The foods in red, and I'll show you the chart in a minute. The foods in red are processed foods not found in nature. They contain few to no micronutrients and little to no fiber or water. They contribute very little to satiety. And then the foods in purple are healthful foods, but are caloric or calorie dense and are best included in small amounts after weight loss is achieved. And for weight loss, weight management, and optimal health, you eat to the left of the red line. And that's all there in print, but it is kind of small, so it might be a little difficult to read on the camera. But I'll hold it here just in case you want to, print screen or copy it down. So I will admit I am not there yet, because I'm definitely eating butter, sour cream, cheese, meat. But I know that I can't just hop on board and eat just non-starchy vegetables, fruit, unrefined, complex carbs, potatoes, whole grains, and legumes. I know I can't do that. So, yeah. So I can't do that yet. I'll get there. That's my goal, is to get there. And I know I was talking when I first started the videos, I was talking about Dr. Ian Smith. And the more I continue to read and learn about the whole foods plant-based diet and comparing that to Dr. Ian Smith's plan, Dr. Ian Smith's plan is very complicated because you have to eat this, and this at this, and this time. No. Too many rules, too many things. That one is simple. Chef AJ's plan is simple. You eat to the red line. You eat when you're hungry. You eat till you're full. And it doesn't matter how many times you eat and what you eat, how much you eat, I should say, as long as you're to the left of the red line. So I think that's going to be a lot easier for me to follow. A lot easier. But I'll get there. So at any rate, the last day of the Truth About Weight Loss Summit. Started with Dr. Stefan. Well, she said Stephen. He pronounced it Stefan Esser. And it was kind of a talk, but also a cooking demonstration. He recommended the 3 S's when trying to lose weight, and that is the order in which you eat your food. First, you eat your salad, then you eat your steamed, and then you eat your starch. So you save your, because your starch is the most calorie dense. You want to eat it last so that you fill up on your salad and your steamed vegetables first. And sometimes if you eat enough salad, steamed vegetables, you get to the starch, you're not even hungry anymore. And then he gave 3 ways of cooking a sweet potato that I, never even thought of. I always thought that, when you cook a sweet potato, you poke holes in it and you bake it in the oven. He suggested if you're going to roast it in the oven, to cut it in half first, and it cooks faster. I'm like, brilliant. Why didn't I think of that? Because you cut it open to eat it anyway, so what difference does it make if you cut it before or after you bake it? The other thing you can do is cut it into either squares or matchsticks and cook it in the air fryer. And then you can cut them in squares as well, or French fry types, and then steam them. And I never thought of steaming sweet potatoes, but that makes sense. He stressed that you can be successful, but you gotta make a plan. Again, it's the fail to plan, you plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Same concept. And with his patients, the ones that are successful, he says they stop seeing themselves as a victim and begin seeing themselves as a victor. If you think you can, you will. He also suggested to take an assessment of those around you, and if being around them is not good for you, maybe it's best to no longer hang out with them. So, if you go out with a friend and your friend doesn't accept that, you're just going to have water to drink if you go to a bar, then, maybe it's a good idea that you don't hang out with them. Because you don't want to go to a bar if you're going to drink, so. And I didn't take a lot of notes today for this day, but I took some on each one. And most of his was just motivational. Most of his presentation was motivational while he was cooking the sweet potatoes. And he made a plate that had the sweet potatoes, which was the starch, and then he made vegetables. I don't remember what it was. He made non-starchy vegetables and steamed vegetables, and then the sweet potatoes. I don't remember exactly what I didn't write down, it was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday, so I don't remember what it was. But he said when you are serious, you will clean your environment. So even he stresses that if you're going to be successful, you have to clean your environment. And again, AJ reiterates, if it's in your house, it's in your mouth. Luckily, I have these for my grandson. Luckily, I've finally said, no, I'm done. And I won't have any. I wish he didn't either. But most of the stuff in here is stuff, I bought it to stock up in case something happened during the pandemic, during lockdown, so that I would have some kind of food if my regular food ran out. Luckily I didn't, but I am using some of it. Like the other day, I just want to show you this real quick. When you saute, when I mentioned sauteing vegetables, it said vegetable stock instead, or water instead of oil. And this brand, if you notice, it's unsalted. And I'm like, fantastic. It has no fat, no salt, so it's on plan. It's fantastic. It just has vegetable stock made from carrots, mushrooms, tomato, onion, celery, red bell pepper. It does say natural flavor, so it doesn't really say what that is. And sometimes that can be good or bad. But then it just has spices and herbs like bay leaf, thyme, and black pepper. Fantastic. I was excited to see that. So I bought a couple of those, and the next time I make soup, I'll be using this. Sorry, a little off track. He was, said that food is information on the cellular level. So your cells use information in food to maintain your body. There's a huge difference between counting calories and calorie density. And I don't remember if there was like a real clear explanation in any of the presentations just about, what calorie density is. And, let's see if I can find one here real quick. Maybe it's chapter 2. What page is that? It's page 17. And I'll put a link to this book. It's not very expensive at all. In the description box below. It's under $20. So not expensive at all. Oh, yeah, I do remember. Calorie density. It was covered on day 2 or 3. And it's when the doctor showed the difference between a pound of celery versus, the amount, the size of the serving of a pound of celery versus a pound of, I think it was just like a pound of meat. A pound of meat's, maybe this big. Or a pound of celery is like overflowing bowl. And that's calorie density. Where the meat is very dense in calorie. But the celery is not dense in calories. And, when you take a look at the list of things to the left of the red line, those are nutrient dense foods, and then to the right of the line are the calorie dense foods. So they have more calories per pound. So there is a big difference, because when you eat to the left of the red line, you can pretty much eat to your stomach's content, and you will not gain weight. You just won't. You'll lose weight. But if you eat to the right of the red line, if you want to stay under a certain calorie amount, you have to really know how many calories are in each food, and you have to measure and weigh your food. And like I said, eating to the left of the red line, once I get there, it's going to be so much easier. So much easier. And then there's a debate out there about whether humans are meant to eat only vegetables. And some people say you have molars and incisors, so you're meant to eat meat. But his view, is anatomically and physically we're designed to eat vegetables, not animals, because we have long intestines and don't have claws to tear flesh or eye teeth to chew it. Incisors, I guess. I don't know. We just don't have those big long teeth. Just take a look at your teeth versus like dog's tooth. Dog's teeth are much sharper. A cat's tooth, look at a lion's, better yet, look at a lion and look at their teeth and look how their teeth are shaped, and then take a look in your mouth. We can manage to do it, but I don't really think that we're meant to. I'm really beginning to believe that we aren't meant to. And then when Chef AJ asked him what the real truth about weight loss is, he said, "You are the most powerful person when it comes to weight loss. You are a victor. One bite, one step at a time, you can do it." Okay, next presentation was not really a presentation so much as it was definitely a success story. What would the secrets to weight loss, the real truth, see, there I go, mixing her summit up with the name of her book. What would a summit on the real truth about weight loss be without some success stories? And this is her assistant, Rebecca Martinez, and she has lost 200 pounds following this diet. And she just, the end of last year, was finally able to get her skin removal surgery, and it was something like 8 pounds. She also recently got divorced, so she now views shedding that 8 pounds as shedding a bad marriage. But she said, don't get discouraged and trust the science. It's a journey and never a destination. And she said that because even though she's been vegan and pretty much whole foods plant-based for many years, she would still have too much. Okay, sorry, had to go help Scott. Now I forgot my train of thought. But she just, I know I was talking about her saying that it's a journey and never a destination. Oh, that's what it was. Even though Rebecca, had been following a vegan diet religiously, she had not incorporated all of the principles of a whole foods plant-based diet, and so she struggled she did a lot of yo-yoing even on a vegan diet. And it wasn't until after the divorce and until she committed to the principles that Chef AJ and AJ's partner Jean-Pierre, which she affectionately calls JP, until she stuck to the principles that they were trying to tell her. It wasn't until she stuck to those principles that the weight finally came off. And then she did give a little bit of background that, she wasn't always thin. And in grade school, she had a boy that called her Oliver, and she couldn't figure it out for the longest time. And finally, this boy said, "Oh, don't you get it? All of her." And of course, once everybody found out that's what he was doing, and what that meant, they made him stop. But it wasn't in time for it to really eat at her psyche that he was so mean to call her that. She said that what was important for her to learn was balance and resilience so that she would know how to get back up. Goes back to yesterday's or Saturday's presentation, where you don't lose a fight by falling down, you lose a fight by staying down. So you just have to get back up. And she wanted to reiterate that you're worth it, you can do it. It doesn't matter how many times you fall down, as long as you get back up. And then Chef AJ asked her, what is the real truth about weight loss? And she said, if you adhere to a whole foods plant-based diet as much as possible and stick to it, it will bring you to success. If you slip, think of it as temporary and jump right back on. So you want to make sure a slip is just a slip and not a slide. And then she kept saying, a black belt is a white belt. A black belt is a white belt that kept showing up. And I don't get it. I mean, I know white belt's what you get when you first start, and a black belt's the highest belt that you can, but I don't get what she said. So, if you can explain to me what she meant by that, put it in the comments below. Okay, so the next presenter was Dr. Joel Furman, and he didn't do a cooking demonstration, but he has an inpatient program where they feed them breakfast, lunch, and dinner while they learn and lose weight. And so his presentation was on turning science into recipes. And it was more or less just him and AJ talking back and forth. But what they do at his resort, resort, is that for lunch, what is that? I'm sorry, I lost it. Let me find it. Okay, so for lunch, they basically have a big salad with a bowl of vegetable soup, and the soup always contains beans, and then they have fruit for dessert. So for breakfast, they have a cup of berries, 2 tablespoons of grains, and a teaspoon of flax or hemp, a teaspoon of either flax, hemp, or chia seeds, and soy milk. I don't really like soy milk though, and then for dinner, it'll be a big variety, like maybe a bean burger, mushroom stroganoff on squash, it varies with a cooked vegetable. Okay, sorry, I couldn't read my notes. I was writing very fast. So, and dinner usually it's lighter than lunch. It varies from day to day, but it always includes cooked vegetables. But, he talked a lot about the soup. If a soup does not taste good, add more onion. Puree it. he recommends roasting garlic because it has more flavor. And then he makes what he called a garlic nutter. It was cashews or hemp seed, roasted garlic, or, instead of hemp seed, you could have soy nuts. You could put some nutritional yeast in it. You just put it in your high-speed blender and make it a butter. And then you can put that on vegetables or a baked potato. Lots of different ways he uses that, he said. And then on his salad, he'll use currants instead of raisins, because the size of currants are so small, it dispenses their flavor, dispenses more evenly in the food. Put sun-dried, and then he is talking about store-bought tomato sauce. And I noticed this myself, that it's basically tomatoes and water. And he's like, that's just too watery. When we make it at home from scratch, we take fresh tomatoes and we cook them down. So he hates store-bought tomato sauce. But you can't always get fresh tomatoes to make a good tomato sauce. So what he'll sometimes do is open up the can of tomato sauce and put in sun-dried tomatoes. And let the sun-dried tomatoes rehydrate. And then put those in a blender. And he says that, it tastes so much better than straight out of the sauce straight out of the can. And I agree. I mean, if you've ever opened up a can of packaged tomato sauce, it just tastes awful. It's just watery. And then when he makes hummus, sometimes he will, because the chickpeas are a little higher in calorie density, he'll use part chickpeas and part eggplant, mix that together, and it lowers the calorie density of the hummus. She asked him about, how many times do you recommend eating a day? And he said that no less than twice a day, but preferably 3 times a day. And that was because he does not recommend one meal a day, because he said that it tends to make you overeat. And if you overeat at one meal, it can have the same effect as overeating it. Let's see if it... I didn't put any notes, but he said that if you eat one meal a day, you tend to overeat. And it doesn't teach you what a reasonable sized meal is. So every time you eat, you tend to still overeat, even if it's more than one meal a day. He said, don't be afraid of hunger. Hunger is your signal that you need energy. But then he said, make sure you know the difference between true hunger and toxic hunger. To him, true hunger is felt in your throat. I don't feel mine in my throat. I feel it I feel it in my whole body. I get really weak. And I just get exhausted. Not jittery. I just get really, really exhausted. And I'm like, oh, it's time to eat. But he said that hunger exists only to maintain muscle mass and not to put fat on your body. Even when people switch to a healthier diet, they continue to overeat. Hence, tonight, I should have had 1 piece of chicken instead of 2. And I would have been fine. And part of the problem with overeating is because when someone overeats, They think that all they have to do is increase their exercise, but then they still go to overeat, and then they over-exercise themselves. So, it just becomes a vicious cycle. So you're better to decrease your exercise and learn how to eat normally. And then his recommendation is, rather than increase your metabolic rate so that you can burn more calories and eat more calories, he teaches his clients to eat fewer calories so that you lower your metabolic rate, because that will then lower your thyroid function, lower your respiratory quotient, and it helps you maintain your correct body mass. And then they talked about ITCs. I don't remember what those are, I'm sorry. But they're in veggies, and they're the most powerful anti-cancer effect. And just like the video I posted earlier today on Saturday's Weight Loss Summit, when Dr. Greger said to find any way to make your meals last longer, you can, one of the ways is you can more thoroughly chew your vegetables. Well, Dr. Furman recommends that you chew to a liquid because it breaks down the cell walls, and then your mouth makes the vegetables of the cell walls into the ITC. And then he talked a little bit about, a base for a soup base that you can use and then just add different vegetables and such to make it different, and seasonings to make it different. As he said, the soup always contains beans, so you want to make sure that you soak your beans overnight. But then before you cook the beans, you want to drain off that water and use fresh water to cook your beans. And you want to make sure you do not undercook your beans. Make sure that they're almost, mushy, because cooked beans are not good for you. They'll make you sick. And then he also uses split peas, so you cook them separately. But that water you can use as part, the split peas are the first ingredient in your soup. So then you keep the water, you cook those in, and then add your beans, and then you juice your carrots fresh, so you use fresh juice and put that in. Like carrots or celery. And then you always put onion and leek in it, and he recommends pureeing the onions and the leeks to put that in your soup because it makes it more creamy. And then if you put zucchini in it, you remove that and blend that as well. The split peas, you can blend those with the cooking water, and then you just add all the other ingredients to the soup. Then after all that's done, he wasn't very, honestly, he wasn't very descriptive. He was talking so fast. He's another one that just talks, and just really, really fast. But that was his presentation. And then the final presentation was one of my favorites. The final presentation was by Tammy Kramer of Nutmeg Notebook. And it was my, by far, favorite cooking demonstration because she's a pro at it. she does most of the talking, and she does all the cooking, but then her husband Tom runs the computer and the cameras, and he's usually off to the side of her. And because of that, she gets, she's got a camera up high to where she can get shots on the table, and then he's really good at switching between looking at her talking and then switch it back to the camera so you can see what she's doing in the pot or the pan. They have each one of them is mic'd, because sometimes when they have a live presentation every Sunday, and that's where they learned how to do all this. And in this particular presentation, it was just Tammy. I mean, Tom was off to the side a little bit, giving her a little bit of direction, but most of the presentation was just Tammy. But then on their live shows, he'll come into the picture and he talks as well. But she is just fantastic. She mostly talked about how her secret to being able to continue to eat the way that she does, and she lost, and I want to say like 70 pounds, 50 to somewhere between 50 and 70 pounds herself. But she said that her secret to having kept it off is by making sure that she had some good sauces for her vegetables. And so her recipe demonstration showed how she makes her vegan Alfredo sauce. And I think if she has a video on how to make that sauce, I'll put that in the description below. But I'll definitely at least put a link to her YouTube channel. But with this vegan Alfredo sauce, the secret is that she uses garlic and steamed cauliflower. But she said that the trick is that you have to use a high-speed blender to make it into the sauce. She tried to make it with an immersion blender, but it didn't get the creaminess or smoothness that she wanted from the sauce. But then she talked about her nacho cheese sauce that she makes. It's chipotle nacho cheese sauce, and she pretty much puts those on a lot of her vegetables. She also, instead of having noodles with her Alfredo sauce to have Alfredo, because typically it's a white sauce loaded with Parmesan cheese, a basic bechamel with Parmesan cheese, and egg noodles. Well, what she does is she uses her vegan cheese sauce and then puts it on spiralized zucchini. Another tip that she does that I guess she learned it from Chef AJ is that when you have a recipe that is a specific blend of spices, make up a whole jar of those spices and label it. So then that way, when you want to make a batch of the recipe, you don't have to get out 6 and 7 bottles. You just have to get, or jars. You just have to get that one. Now, she did say that she leaves the red pepper flakes out of her spice blend because that works better in the Alfredo sauce if you add it at the end. Alfredo sauce or the cheese sauce, I don't remember which one. But the other trick is that she too, she batch cooks as well. And, she talks about this on her channel all the time. She also has a website with blog posts called, it's nutmegnotebook.com. I'll put a link to that in the description boxes below as well. But I really enjoy watching and listening to her, and she has been doing this, I think, for like 6 years. and she's so knowledgeable. She has learned so much, and she and Tom are retired now. So, well, retired from jobs outside of the home, but her job now is sharing what she's learned and teaching people how to successfully follow a whole food plant-based diet. And then the final presentation was by AJ, Chef AJ herself. I did not have time to take notes on it. But it was essentially a summary of all of the speakers. But it listed 7 things that her presenters have found that successful weight loss patients have, 7 things that they do. One is they keep it simple. 2, they incorporate exercise. 3, they have a variety of foods. 4, they get plenty of sleep. And I don't remember the other 3. Sorry. Because like I was really busy yesterday trying to I was just really busy yesterday, so I didn't really have time to stop and take notes. But those are the 5 that I do remember, which is pretty good for me because my memory is not very good after having cancer treatment. It's getting better though, and I'm hoping that with the whole foods plant-based diet it'll get even better, or at least the more vegetables and fruits that I incorporate into my diet. But it's over. It's done. Take a deep breath. Don't know what I'm going to do next as far as the channel, other than, what I eat, what I'm doing every day. But I might find something. I know on Thursday I'm going to participate in a master class that's being offered by Cyrus Kambata and Bobby Barbero of Mastering Diabetes. I'm going to go ahead and participate in that. And then in April, or either next month or April, I've signed up to listen to the real truth about food summit. Well, that's about it for my batteries. So I thank you. Please comment, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when I upload my next video. In the meantime, you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.